And Logan is a prick who is just trying to throw his money around and try and repair his rep.
Stand up. Stand up. Stand over here.
Why?
Stand over here. Let me see your hands.
Chris Eubank Jr. responds with genuine empathy, and it resonates because he's lived that reality. Fighters understand what it means when danger suddenly finds you outside the ring, when body and mind are threatened without warning. His words expose the gap between real experience and online theatrics, and right now that gap is swallowing reputations whole. And I'm telling you, this isn't finished. Resentment like this doesn't fade quietly. It detonates later, when nobody sees it coming. Tony Bellew speaks on Joshua's character even while he's hurt and disoriented, and that's where respect solidifies. Because even in chaos, Joshua represents something steady, something rooted. Stack that against the Paul brothers' constant controversies, and you get a moral contrast fans can't unsee. I can feel the narrative hardening, setting like concrete, becoming something that follows people for years, deserved or not. And that's terrifying. Meanwhile, whispers of alleged FBI scrutiny refuse to disappear. I have to tread carefully here because investigations deal in facts, not emotion. But perception can be just as lethal. Right now, perception is toxic. Every old feud, every careless post, every past stunt is being dragged back under a microscope. And I keep feeling like there's a missing piece. Something not public yet. A detail that's going to split this story wide open when it finally drops.
To officials in Nigeria, they ran into a stationary truck while trying to change lanes on the roads. Just a horrific accident. You know, I don't want to start, assigning blame to something that I don't have the report for, but...
So we stop here, suspended in tension. Anthony Joshua recovering and mourning. The boxing world holding its breath. Logan Paul and Jake Paul operating under a cloud of suspicion, fair or unfair. And the truth still buried somewhere in documents, call logs, and closed-door conversations. I don't like how unresolved this feels because stories that start this way never end neatly. They end with jolts. And honestly, I'm uneasy because the next update could flip everything again, and when it does, you'll want to be watching.
Said, "This is an unbelievable loss. Sinna and Latif are two incredible people who are not only part of AJ's team, but also friends. My sincere condolences to their families, loved ones, and everyone who knew them. Anthony Joshua, wishing you a speedy recovery."
The endgame already looks ugly because if this keeps spiraling, the damage won't just bruise careers, it will erase legacies. Now rewind with me. Just hours before the world froze, Anthony Joshua was laughing with friends, talking future fights, while rumors erupted that Logan and Jake Paul were suddenly facing alleged FBI scrutiny. I remember staring at my screen thinking, no way this is real. One crash detonated the entire boxing narrative, and now every powerful name attached to it is sweating, hiding, or hoping this doesn't turn into something darker than anyone is prepared for.
That's bonkers. Thank God he didn't have a seatbelt on. I never say that. Thank God he didn't have a fucking seatbelt on, because if he did,
there's no way.
He would be dead. Probably,
No
or fucking severely.
This is where the air starts thinning. Reports circulate that Joshua's accident sparked questions nobody wanted raised. Fans expected silence or respect from the Paul brothers, but instead saw posts that felt distant, detached, almost careless. That's when my stomach sank. In this sport, timing is everything. Bad timing looks like guilt even when it isn't. And I keep hearing this thought repeating, someone knows more than they're saying. Someone always does. This is the moment when stories like this turn poisonous.
Be there for them and the family, anything they need. Sometimes when someone is a star, they have a lot of things in their life taken care of for them. So you really have to move into that mode in this situation as well. make sure obviously they're getting the best medical attention, make sure their family are safe and happy.
Anthony Joshua is fighting to heal, and the entire combat world feels the weight of it. This isn't trash talk or promotional hype. This is real blood, real loss. When Jake Paul's reaction appeared online, it didn't read as support. It read as distance, like he was already bracing for fallout. Fans picked up on it instantly because fighters read energy better than anyone. And the energy felt wrong, unsettling, like a storm sitting just outside the frame, waiting to crash in.
Anthony Joshua injured in car accident. 2 people who I believe were with Anthony Joshua were friends of his have tragically passed away. Before I carry on reading the article, the 2 people who have tragically passed, my condolences is all I can say to their friends and families. We'll definitely offer up some prayers for them.
Then Logan Paul posts his tweet, and it's like the temperature drops another 10 degrees. Again, the tone feels too casual, too light for a moment this heavy. Comments start flooding in, accusing, questioning, demanding explanations. You can feel paranoia growing because when 2 brothers already surrounded by controversy respond this way to a tragedy involving Anthony Joshua, people start drawing lines that maybe shouldn't exist. But once those lines are drawn, that's the danger here. Meanwhile, Oleksandr Usyk steps in like a true champion should, offering respect, humanity, and grief. It feels like 2 worlds colliding. One understands the cost of this life. The other seems trapped in optics and algorithms. That contrast is deafening, painfully loud, and it forces the question of who truly belongs in this sport when things turn dark, and who only thrives when the spotlight is fun and profitable.
Sure, if there was someone in the stationary truck. I'm not sure about that, so I'm not going to report on that, but the truck was stationary, and Joshua's SUV struck the stationary truck.
Joe Rogan's reaction cuts straight through the noise. No politics, no click chasing. Just the reality that Joshua narrowly escaped something that could have ended everything. His silence hits harder than shouting because it reminds you how close this came to being irreversible. While others speculate, Rogan is thinking about scans, internal damage, and how fragile even the strongest heavyweights really are when speed and steel collide. Eddie Hearn's response shows what leadership looks like under pressure. He protects his fighter, supports the grieving families, and keeps the focus where it belongs. Watching that alongside the Paul brothers' online behavior is jarring, almost uncomfortable, because it exposes the line between responsibility and opportunism. Here's what nobody wants to say yet, but I will. That line is about to be tested publicly, and someone is going to fail it. The human cost deepens when names like Liam Goff emerge, talking about the loss of Joshua's close friends. This isn't about recovery timelines or fight cards anymore. This is grief layered on trauma. And every time someone treats it like content instead of catastrophe, it feels wrong. When emotions are this raw, it becomes obvious who genuinely cares and who is just trying to survive backlash.
Over days water, he could get seriously hurt. I don't believe Josh would have. I believe Josh might have some compassion in him. Yeah.
Then Turkey Alalshik allows comments to surface, and suddenly the conversation shifts to possible brain injury and long-term consequences. That's when shock turns into fear because brain scans end careers. They reshape lives. Against that backdrop, the Paul brothers' earlier reactions look even worse, like they didn't read the room or simply didn't want to. I can't shake the feeling that someone behind the scenes is panicking right now, deleting posts, calling lawyers, scrambling to contain damage. You can almost feel it.
Anthony Joshua injured in car accident. 2 people who I believe were with Anthony Joshua were friends of his have tragically passed away. Before I carry on reading the article, the 2 people who have tragically passed, my condolences is all I can say to their friends and families. We'll definitely offer up some prayers for them.
Showbiz the adult lays out the crash details with cold precision, and it makes everything feel brutally random. A stationary truck. A lane change. An ordinary moment turning fatal. It reminds you that tragedy doesn't need villains to be devastating. But once suspicion enters the room, it refuses to leave. With Logan and Jake Paul already polarizing figures, the spotlight on them burns hotter every minute, ready to scorch.
There was an accident at 9:30 a.m. local time, 8:30 our time, involving two vehicles in which two people have died, and Anthony Joshua has received minor injuries and he's been taken to hospital. So eyewitnesses say Joshua was in a Lexus SUV with 3 other passengers, and he was involved in an accident in which that Lexus collided with a truck that was stationary at the time. And there are videos online of a shaken Joshua being taken out of the car. So local police have confirmed that Joshua has suffered minor injuries, but that 2 people have died in that accident.
What makes this unbearable is seeing footage of Anthony Joshua just hours before the crash, full of energy, joking, dreaming, and then smash cutting to this nightmare. That emotional whiplash is why fans are furious at anything that feels performative or careless. This wasn't scripted drama. This was real life. And when the Paul brothers appeared detached, it felt like a violation of the unspoken code fighters live by. Maybe that sounds harsh, but pain sharpens judgment.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Joshua, future heavyweight Hall of Famer, has been in a severe car accident which killed 2 people. He is severely injured. He's still alive. There's footage out there of people helping Anthony Joshua out the vehicle. We don't know the details of what happened, if they was in a car accident, if they was just swerving around and lost control. We don't know, but my condolences go out to those who lost their lives. Hopefully it was just, man, a terrible accident. And also, hopefully Anthony Joshua will seek the medical attention that he needs. You know, check the everything, the head, the scan everything, x-ray, MRI, because we don't know if that could be internal bleeding as well. You know, adrenaline is pumping and you may feel like you're not okay, but you got to check everything. But hopefully he heals well, and Godspeed. And again, my condolences go out to those that lost their lives.
What really messes with my head is how fast narratives solidify. One badly timed tweet can outweigh 1,000 explanations. Logan Paul knows that. Jake Paul knows that. Their careers were built on understanding attention. Yet somehow, this moment slipped through their hands. Now fans are connecting dots that may not even exist. And once that process starts, it's hard to stop because grief breeds suspicion, and suspicion doesn't wait for facts. When Turki Alalshik mentioned possible brain concerns, that alone should have shut everything down into silence and respect. Brain trauma ends eras. If Anthony Joshua's career shifts even slightly because of this, resentment toward anyone perceived as disrespectful will explode. Fight fans are unforgiving when they believe a real champion has been wronged, especially one who's always carried himself with dignity. So this is my human take. Not a legal analysis. Not journalism. Just a fan who's watched this sport long enough to recognize storms before they break. Right now, Anthony Joshua is surrounded by prayers, support, and quiet strength. Logan Paul and Jake Paul are surrounded by noise, suspicion, and questions that won't fade on their own. Until the full truth surfaces, this tension will keep tightening, stretching, waiting, like something is about to snap and nobody knows who it will cut first. Honestly, when I hear Anthony Joshua's name now, it doesn't sound like a boxer. It sounds like a man carrying a weight nobody trains for. You hear it in the pauses when Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren speak. This isn't business anymore. And when Joe Rogan goes quiet instead of loud, you know the situation is serious. Every time Logan or Jake Paul trend next to Joshua's name, it feels wrong, like 2 timelines colliding that were never meant to intersect. That alone fuels anger. My opinion, and I could be wrong, is that perception is already causing damage. Jake Paul's history, Logan Paul's history, all of it is being dragged back into the light. That's not fair or unfair. It's human nature after trauma. And when Usyk, Eubank Jr., Bellew, and Liam Goff speak with empathy, it builds a shield of respect around Joshua. Meanwhile, the Paul brothers feel isolated by their own past choices. And isolation is dangerous at moments like this.